Blessed is the one who finds wisdom and the one gets understanding. Quote Proverbs chapter 3, verse 13. Respected Reverend Father Rector, Reverend Father Secretary, Reverend Father Principal, Dr. Ramki, our resource person, Dr. Milton, Dr. Jacob, our coordinators, and dear participants. Good morning and a warm welcome to all of you. Your life will never make sense until God is in it. Before we start this webinar, let us pause for a moment and invoke the blessings of the Lord Almighty. So thank you. Today's webinar is the third of the research methodology webinar series organized by Loyola College. The first edition was held on 12th and 13th of June and the second on 17th of July. In those two webinars, we discussed the nuances of preparing a manuscript, ethics involved in making of a research paper, research funding, and peer review. And today, we are fortunate to have one of the best industrial consultants, Dr. Ramki from New Jersey, USA. He will be talking to us on research consultancy and entrepreneurship. It's a great opportunity for all of us to listen from a veteran who has more than 2 decades of experience in this field. In the second session, we will be discussing about journal metrics. With these introductory remarks, I welcome our beloved principal, Reverend Father Thomas, to welcome and introduce our chief guest. Over to Father Principal. Father.
Good morning to all of you. Respected Dr. Ramki, the resource person and the chief guest of the day, Dr. Madhavan, the Dean of Research, Dr. Milton, the HOD of the Advanced Zoology Department, Dr. Jacob, and all the technical team, my dear beloved participants of this webinar. As a principal of Loyola College, I'm extremely honored and privileged to be here today to welcome Dr. Ramki and introduce the illustrious speaker to all of you. We all know in higher education, apart from teaching, learning, research, and outreach, consultancy has emerged as a very, very important area of engagement for the academicians. And hardly we come across worthwhile resource person who can really guide us, much more than guide us, inspire us. Today we have in Dr. Ramki such an illustrious person who can guide us and also inspire us. When I look at his profile, it's very, very impressive. Dr. Ramki Srinivasan is a management consultant and advisor for capital raising. He has 20 plus years of experience in leadership roles, working in US and Asia, and expertise in multiple industries, including renewable energy, recycling, industrial products, oil and gas, chemicals, and software development. In all that, one thing that runs through the entire his profile is sustainable energy. Sustainable energy is something the whole world is concerned about it, and this is where Dr. Ramki's entire specialization seems to lie. Currently, he is focused on providing business diligence, market assessment, and growth strategy consulting for corporate customers and private equity firms, investors. He is passionate about sustainability and has built green businesses and has extensive experience developing, commissioning solar farms and used oil pre-refineries. Earlier, he was the president at Orient Green Power Limited, what is called OGPL, a leading renewable energy power producer in India with 500 plus megawatt of operating capacity. He led the IPO of OGPL along with the main shareholder of the company and raised $200 million. Prior to his career in industry, he was an engagement manager in McKinsey and Company's Atlanta office, helping clients on a variety of areas including strategy, business building, geographic expansion, marketing, and organizational change management. Dr. Ramki is an alumnus of College of Engineering, Guindy, and IIT Delhi. He also holds a PhD in mechanical engineering from University of Rochester and MBA from Tepper School of Business at Carnegie Mellon, where he received the Academic Excellence Award in the FlexiTime program. Today, he will be speaking to us on research consultancy and entrepreneurship. My dear sir, thank you very much for accepting to inspire us. Really, we are very, very happy to have you with us. Sure, your session is going to be enriching and enlightening for all of us. Thank you very much. And my dear participants, have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Father Thomas. This is a great opportunity and privilege for me. I hope I do justice to all the things you talked about. And when I learned about this from Madhavan, I told him, I used to do research when I was in school doing my PhD. And since then, I've been out of scientific research, and all I do now is market research. But I guess, I know a few things about a few different things, and I can offer you my perspectives. Academic research and industry collaboration is something I observe, when I do my work. I have, certainly I can, give you some flavor for what it takes to be successful in that. But I'm trying to kind of connect all my outside-in experience into what would make sense to you. Maybe I'll tell a story. Maybe this is a funny story. We all as kids, used to prepare for writing essays, right? And as in a primary school or in middle school, we weren't that much trained in writing anything, and we used to cram something. Topics used to be given ahead of time. So my mom used to tell me that since there was a kid who knew to write about a cow, but the question was about a coconut tree. So he wrote the whole page about cow and then just connected the thing to the answer, saying the cow is tied to the coconut tree, and that was his essay. Maybe what I'm going to do is something like that. I'm going to give you some flavor for the type of research collaboration between universities and industry, and specifically guide you through how this can be done at the Loyola College level, or at the level of departments, or at an individual level. First, let me talk about the benefits. Why is this research collaboration important? Right? The collaboration has benefits to the college, benefits to the industry, and more importantly, benefit to the society. Universities, of course, seek partnership with the industries for financial rewards of filing patents and licenses, and obviously that is one motivation, at least for the U.S. universities and other universities in the developed world, to do that. But additionally, the faculty benefit, through the access to the cutting-edge scientific equipment, which is not always available in university labs, but would be available in industry. And really, it creates jobs for the students. And for the company, vice versa, there are a lot of benefits. the company gets a talent, university professors and researchers talent, good talent available, pretty cheap. So that's a great opportunity to use. And companies don't have much of a bandwidth to do a lot of work. So getting work done through students and researchers in the universities make a lot of sense. They get ideas from students, they get ideas from professors. So it's a two-way street. But the real advantage on the society level is what I want to point out, and that advantage can be really huge. I just want to mention a couple of examples. If you really look at the major inventions which have happened, in the 1900s, the 1947, was the transistor, which came out of Bell Labs, which transformed electronics and is a foundation for the global economy and for our, digital civilization. The second, major invention, which did not, get that much attention, but it is now, is the lithium-ion in a battery. Professor and your principal mentioned about my interest and passion in clean technologies. I do a lot of work in electric vehicles, mobility, and several other areas. So in 1991, Sony really took the lead in commercializing, what was called a lithium-ion battery, which was actually done by university research in Austin, Texas. I'm not sure, maybe some of you know about Professor John Goodenough. He's a solid-state physicist and a Nobel laureate. He got his Nobel recently. He did the pioneering work. He's 98 years old now, and he is still doing research. He, at his age of 87 in 1980, invented lithium-ion, the nervous system behind it, and the cobalt oxide cathode. And in 1991, Sony, commercialized it. It is a fascinating story of how Sony got into the commercialization rights for the technology. In fact, Professor Goodenough had two postdocs. One was Akshaya Padi from Indian origin postdoc, and there was a Japanese postdoc called Wakeda from NTT. And I don't want to tell the whole story now. You can read it, in news. So there was these two students, two postdocs were working on the project, and finally Wakeda went to Japan and kind of took that IP and commercialized it in Japan. And John Goodenough, professor, he didn't make any money, nor did the university. But the thing is, the society as a whole gained a lot from that invention. So that's a kind of high impact you would get in the collaboration we are talking about. So with that, I want to now jump to the next page. So here we have there are two things I want to talk today. One is about the research collaboration with industry. And the second topic is about entrepreneurship. I've been an entrepreneur myself. Not sure, I can't call myself a very successful entrepreneur, but I've been there, done that. I know what it takes to get businesses started and funded and operated. So I will give you a bit of my personal experience along with other best practices for entrepreneurship. But on the research topic, I just want to mention that if you really look at the motivation for the collaboration, we went through the examples I gave you, and really looking at the collaboration, you want to do it at a level which makes sense. So let me go to the next slide and kind of walk you through the three levels of collaboration possible. It is really common sense. You can do it at the college or the institutional level. That'll be the best. You can get the heft of the university or the college, to carry you through. The second best is the department level, and then obviously the individual level is always open for you. Here, what I would suggest, I'm not sure what is the current status of collaboration, which is there at the Loyola College between the college and the companies. I think there's a great opportunity to kind of think about it strategically. You can looking at strengths of the Loyola College system as a whole, or looking at the strengths of the departments. You want to work on 3 or 4 big areas. You want to identify a few areas which is good for the country, which is good for the world overall. Examples of such big impact ideas could be climate change. It could be water. Water scarcity and the need for preserving water is again a very big problem. Then there are things like digital economy. There's so much work going on our digitization, and health and fitness. We talk about vaccines, which is so popular these days. And I know the college has multiple disciplines, ranging from humanities to economics to life sciences to physical sciences and computer science. So, I see some of these big impact areas as very cross-functional. You can, pick clean technologies as one example. You can pick electric mobility, where you can do work in batteries or autonomous vehicles and navigation, or it could be solar, it could be geothermal, hydrogen, waste recycling, anything. You pick an area, there is going to be definitely, opportunities for physics, for chemistry, for computer science, and economics and other humanities, as well. So, my advice would be to identify, 1 or 2 or 3 areas where, as a college and an institution, you can really shine across all departments. You can do it bottom up from each department and kind of ask each department to come up with a vision and a strategy. What's the research vision for the department? Let them all brainstorm and come back with a paper and a plan for how that is going to be implemented. And maybe all these department level plans can be combined to make a plan at the Loyola College level. So that's an exercise you could do, and maybe eventually you can build an innovation lab or a research hub and an accelerator for startups. Sky is the limit, right? You start small, but you can build on some baby steps and eventually become a magnet for attracting innovation and talent going forward. So that is something I would really recommend having as a higher level vision. And I'm sure Loyola College, with all your pedigree and your network and your resources, you can really do that. And so just identify areas of strength and expand on it. And on the companies, finding companies, you don't need to be limited to Chennai or any geographical limitations. It can be all over India, or even outside India. So I would approach it with, what is that I'm good at, what is that my department is good at, what is that the college we are good at, and how do we go and find suitable companies to work with. Will be kind of the first level of thinking with a higher purpose and higher vision in mind. So with that, let's move to the following slide. Here, I'm just painting a picture for what all need to get done in terms of choosing projects. This is kind of getting to a bit of a nut and bolts. One thing I would advise, as somebody who has been on the technology side and of late, and I transformed and started doing more of business related activities. I think having a business context to all problems, is a huge advantage. I'm not asking you all to become business people. That's not my intent at all. As technologists, as researchers, I think understanding the business needs is very important. It's not that you should be familiar to read a balance sheet or income statement or anything fancy. All I'm asking is kind of understand the drivers for the company as to what the industry wants, what is it that they are trying to solve, and look at it both from your scientific filter, scientific lens, but look at it from a business lens is what I'm urging you to. So sit with the company, understand the company's R&D portfolio and their priorities, and then you'll have to align your work with their research priority. A company will have multiple priorities, obviously, and there'll be some pet projects, which somebody wants to do on the R&D side. But I think you have to be very careful in choosing one which actually has some drive and attention from the company's business units. If the business units want something to succeed, that's a good sign that there is traction for that project and something will come out of it. And it is not going to be, something which is just going to be on the shelves and not getting attention. So make sure, talk to the company, talk to the people in the business units, and make sure that it is a burning desire to get something done in that research area. And then you're complementing what the company does on its own. So it is a win-win for both the company as well as the university or the department. So the objective here is to collaborate on projects considered really important for the company's business and the technological leadership. So pick projects which are really on their radar, which they really want success to happen, and not go for kind of low-lying projects which nobody cares about. And the second thing is really this is a long-term relationship and partnership. So don't look at it as a transaction. This is not something which this is something which will live for a long time, and these relationships continue for a long time. So establishing that kind of a long-term sense and purpose is very important when you are trying to work with the company to start with. So this is obviously something your department heads and your professors and of course the leadership in the college can also help you and ensure that the relationship is long-term and not transactional. Okay, let's move to the next page. Here, these are kind of specific items and best practices which are being followed globally, and there is a lot of research done on industry, university collaboration. And I just looked at one paper from MIT. There are many other papers. There is no depth of information on what works and what doesn't. Here I have just a few bullets on what people have found out to be success ingredients of success for this collaboration to work. The first point is that this is something I explained in the last slide also, is having a business background. So knowing the major trends in that industry, knowing what the challenges are, the business challenges, and the motivation for the research is very important. And it's a fun exercise. Always, curiosity is really valued in such endeavors. And as students and researchers, you ask these questions. There's nothing like a stupid question. Understand what they are trying to do in the industry. What is that they are trying to solve, and how is that going to make them profitable? So industries obviously are profit oriented, which goes to the second point, that you choose projects that have a good potential for achieving a tangible impact. So certainly asking the question, will it make money? What is the potential for the success here? Do a very simple calculation, nothing very complicated. You're attacking a problem which can have $1 billion impact, or whatever it is, and you're going to spend few $100,000 or some $1 million, it's still worthwhile. So having some vision and some objective or some visibility to what your research can eventually achieve is very fulfilling, and it is motivating, and it will kind of make everything fall in place if you know that the outcome is going to have a big impact. So having an idea on the investments and the returns at the very get-go is a very important thing to keep in mind. As researchers, you will do all the other things in terms of the technology risks, the challenges in solving the problem, and all that you will do. I'm just highlighting the ones which you may tend not to do, or it's not in your kind of top of the mind priority. I'm just saying, looking at it from the business success and the returns from that investment is always a very good thing to look at. And only those projects which you pick, which can be winners, make the journey attractive for both the university and the company. And it is a kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it will have a domino effect. As you succeed, you will get more important projects, and the thing goes on, and success builds success. The third important thing is to choose a sponsor. Here again, who the sponsor is very critical. If you have somebody who is not only a technology person but has access to business and is cross-functional in the reach, that makes it very easy for the project to be visible within the university, within the company, within the various business units in the company, and you will be getting inputs from all those units, which you may not be getting if it is just one person just trying to lead you. So I see three entities here, right? This is the university, and there is this company, and then there is this project manager or a team which is coordinating everything, and there is communication flow from in all these three circles, and you can draw a Venn diagram and see that there are intersections, and the more intersections are there, and the more communications flow across, make it really worthwhile for the success of the project. And I can give you a lot of examples on why this is important. Even companies are complex organizations. Oftentimes, the researchers don't know what is happening in the kind of manufacturing plant, and vice versa, right? So it's very essential for the project manager and sponsor to be connected to the operating units, and it could be a robot you're working on. Unless you know what the operators want, your research is going to be just on paper. So the cross-functional reach of the sponsor is very important. And even for you, it is important to kind of visit the company and keep that communication open. Visit them as often as you would like. Do more with them on an interactive basis. So it is a two-way street, and it should not be that you take a project, come back to your lab, and go to them after a year or so. So it should be much more iterative, and that's how you build a broad awareness of the project within the company. And building the awareness in multiple units is going to make you. They are going to challenge you. They are going to give you more inputs on what would work and what would not work. So you'll have more years, more eyes and ears to look at the problem you are solving, and you will have a lot more guidance in that fashion. So most of this is common sense, but these have been kind of tried and tested models. So establishing a strong communication link is very important. Communicate often. Communicate, both good news and bad news. If we are all we are in it together in terms of solving a problem. So keeping communication free and open is very important. And the last point is more of a governance point. In any collaboration, there are going to be requirements for reviews. There are going to be, maybe there would be governance committee at which is monitoring all the research. So setting up the review mechanism and updating on progress and kind of achieving it in a timely way, in a structured way is all very critical to achieve success from your research. That's kind of the few points I want to mention in terms of how you can operationalize, or how you can actually take a specific project and look for all these ingredients of success before you commence your research activity. So as I said earlier, this, it's very easy to think about all this as an individual project. The same thing applies to a larger departmental level collaboration, or multiple department level collaboration, and finally, the college level collaboration. So with that, let me move to the next topic of discussion, which is entrepreneurship. We can go to the next page, Madhavan. Well, I don't want to discourage anybody here. Entrepreneurship is a great path. I'm just cautioning that it is very challenging. It can be very rewarding at the same time. It can be very challenging, and maybe as a young entrepreneur, you won't even think about some of this, and that's a good thing. It is doing a lot of analysis. Worrying about failure, is not fun. But at knowing, the success of a venture, knowing what it takes to succeed is also equally important before you plunge into it, because it is long-term commitment of your time, resources, and the impact it is going to have not only on you and on your family and your support system. So you'll have to think through all that. So if you really look at the statistics of how many companies really succeed, 9 out of 10, unfortunately, it does not. This doesn't mean that you should not be starting a venture. All I'm saying is at a level of technology startups and venture funded startups, this is the statistics. Of course, there are a lot more companies which are started as a family concern or as a small business, where you are going to be doing work not related to depending on venture capitalists and others, and there you probably have lot more things under your control. But if you really ask the question why startups fail, there are a bunch of different answers, bunch of different reasons. Oftentimes it is multiple reasons and not just one. But the very first reason, or majority of the startups fail because of lack of market need for the product or service. This happens even to established companies trying to do a new product. Take Google Glass, for example. Google, is a very successful company, has done a lot of innovation and been successful in several different business ventures. But Google Glass wasn't one, and they'll probably come up with something which is better and more successful. But it was expensive. There were concerns on privacy, and the product didn't. You and I are not wearing Google glasses now today. So that's one example, and there are hundreds of examples of why the market need. The product can be great. You would have thought about it, and it is cool, it works, but ultimately somebody has to buy it. Somebody has to spend money on it so that you will get returns. So that's very critical. And the second reason why things fail is lack of funding. I raise money for startups. I know how difficult it is to raise money. It is something you have to think through ahead of time as to what why should it be attractive for an investor. So that forces you a lot of discipline in terms of getting your business plan right, understanding the market, understanding your competition, understanding the needs. You have to do all that work up front, and at least mentally have a path for success, and that's what you'll have to communicate passionately and with the conviction to get that funding happen. And there are certainly team issues. It's always a team effort, and not many times the team works well. You could be 2-3 co-founders coming in to do the venture, and you may not know each other that well, and there is always not having enough clarity in roles, or people doing just siloed work. I'm just doing technology, I'm just doing marketing, and there is nobody to kind of put all the pieces of the puzzles together. So a lot of startups fail because of team. And even when I take a mandate to take a company to investors, I look at the team. And if I'm not comfortable with the team, and if I'm not happy with the team, I don't even take the mandate. So the team and the compatibility and the quality and the leadership is extremely important. The other reasons are again obvious reasons. The competition, underestimating the competition, kills you. So competitors are very successful, and you don't, even though you have a good product, you have a good solution, it is very difficult to launch. And then there are issues like pricing, and the one on bad timing is something I can relate to myself in my one venture. For doing ventures, it's not that you need a PhD or you need an advanced degree. Anybody with smarts and passion and ability to look at problems and come up with creative solutions can be an entrepreneur. So there are no educational requirements here. And I was fresh off my IPO. We did I raised about $200 million, as further Thomas mentioned. I was gung ho. I thought if I can raise money for somebody, I can raise money for my own venture. So I got into recycling. This was in the US. What I did was I took waste lube oil, the oil which is there in your car when you go for an oil change. And this is an oil after you are done, maybe 5,000 kilometers or something, you change the oil. The oil which is drained out is still very good in terms of the properties. The oil hasn't nothing has happened to the oil. Only the additives which have been added break down. These are all chemical additives. And if there is a way to separate out the additives from the oil, that oil can go back into the lube industry again. So this is what is called re-refining. It's not rocket science. It is some distillation done on vacuum, and then you have a finishing process to get the oil recovered. So I invested in a small project in South Carolina. I did that for a year or so, and then I thought this can be done at a larger scale. So it was a $50-60 million project. We developed the project. We had the team in place. We had the technology in place. We had the site and approvals and all the hard work, all the the pre-engineering and design and all that is complete. But this was 2013-14 time frame when crude prices took a hit. So this was something which not under control. You cannot anticipate what happens to the market. So suddenly all the term sheets I had from the investors kind of went. It was difficult to pull the money out, and there was so much caution in terms of putting money on oil projects, and timing wise it didn't work out. So I waited for a year, 2 years. Nothing changed, and obviously you can't wait forever. So you just move on and do something else. So that's one example, personal example of how bad timing can impact you. But otherwise, there are certainly several things not under your control. But the whole journey as an entrepreneur is something you will learn a lot. This is beyond what you would get in a job, beyond what you would achieve, even as a senior leader in a company. Because as an entrepreneur, you are kind of making everything happen. You are working on the problem at a scientific level, you are working on it on the market level, you are interacting with investors trying to get money, you are interacting with customers, all the teething troubles. You will become a great problem solver. And you're going to get skills in managing the team, human resource skills. It is all across your leadership skills. It is a kind of a fast track program in your career development. In a couple of years, you'll probably learn as much you'd have learned in 10 years or 15 years in a company. And in a couple of years, you may also age 5-6 years, because it's a treadmill. And it is something. Obviously, you need to have the risk appetite, you need to have the energy. And if you like taking risks, nothing like being an entrepreneur. And not risk in the sense, it is not that you're jumping off a cliff. So this is you are giving up maybe a couple of years of good salary you would have gotten otherwise in an industry job, and you are letting that go. But depending on your age and your stage in your career, earlier you take the risks, the better. So as a 25-year-old, you can easily do it for a few years. And I'm not saying let it go, make it succeed, do whatever it takes to succeed. But in the event it doesn't, you can always go back to industry. And entrepreneurial experience is something really valued in industry. Failure as an entrepreneur is very valued. A lot of investors like second time or third time entrepreneurs, because they know that the first time failure or the second time failure has taught entrepreneurs quite a bit, which otherwise you would have gotten anyway. So failing as an entrepreneur is not it is actually a badge of honor. You can be very proud of your failure. And not many get to do this. I don't think you should be worried about it. All I'm saying is be prepared, think through it. The point about the support of the family and friends is very important. In some cultures, in India, used to be very, very conservative. So if you fail, people used to maybe people could look down on you. And it is something which some cultures like entrepreneurs, like entrepreneurial cultures, and some are not very supportive. But more importantly, I think the family and friend support is very important. Your wife or your mother, your father, your siblings, they all have to be very supportive of what you do, because there are going to be bad days. There are going to be you would need motivation. You would need more than money. You need emotional support as an entrepreneur, and all that comes only from family and very close friends. So all that, if you think you have all that, please do it. And if it is not the case, talk about it first. Get your spouse comfortable, get your parents comfortable, because they not being happy at the end of the day is not going to be fun. So there are such things to take care of, in addition to making sure you have the right idea, right team, right partners, and right funding to kind of make all this work. I think Madhavan, how are we doing on time? I think we are kind of coming close to the hour, and maybe I'll stop here and ask if there are any questions.
Participants can send your questions through the chat box.
Ramki, I have a question.
Sure.
And if you see our government, our institution, everyone, they support the startups. They want everyone to take up startups, and they share success stories starting from a bakery inside an institution to a software industry and a research park. But as you said, 90% were failures. And at the end, you said it is great to be an entrepreneur and you can celebrate your failures. That is what you said, right? Can you mention any one single, can you single out any one reason for the failure? Because everyone says be an entrepreneur, government supports, government sharing success stories. And after all this, you say 90% is a failure, right? Can you tell us any one single reason for it?
The reason for failure, Madhavan?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the number one reason, which is not thinking through the whether customers are going to buy your product or service. I think that's the key. You as the entrepreneur and as the innovator, you feel that what you are doing is something very important. Of course, you believe in your solution, but it is ultimately the customers and your audience, your target is the customers, and if they don't feel the need to buy the product, it's not going to work out. So the Google Glass example is the one I told. It is a great product, but it was very expensive, and people are worried about secrecy and privacy. And it is a good solution, works, it is cool, but you are not getting enough people to buy it. So that's a common problem in launching something. But I'll tell you that in any startup, you tell that idea to 5 different people and to 5 different investors, you will get a very good sense for whether it will fly or not. So don't be blinded on your own. Don't drink your own Kool-Aid and think that everything is fine. It works fine for some. Take Steve Jobs. He doesn't. He didn't want to fear whether it is somebody is going to like it or not. He knew it is going to work. So for such visionaries who are able to see patterns, who are able to see beyond what a lot of people are not able to see, for such people, for such visionaries, things will work, and that conviction can pull them off. So there are different models in which how you can make it succeed. And I don't want to disappoint. I don't want to kind of tell that this is a 90% fail as it should not inhibit anybody from thinking about it. The 10% which succeed make the society. That makes the institutions great. That makes the companies great. So the winners, the effort and the toil it takes to succeed far outweighs the pain of starting up, and even that pain is pretty useful as a learning. So net, I would do a startup any day if I want to do it again.
So thank you, Ramki. That the 10% makes a difference. That's great answer from you. One more question I have, Ramki.
Yes, go ahead.
One more question. Can you tell us about the feasibility component for institution like us?
Feasibility for research collaborations, feasibility setting up.
Yes.
Yeah. I think these days, the limitation, 20 years back, 30 years back, was knowledge was very siloed. It was available in some libraries. It was available in some universities. Now you can do research sitting anywhere in any corner of the world. So sky is the limit, and India has a huge talent base for high tech. You take mobility. There are a bunch of people working in autonomous driving vehicles. Quite a bit of research going on in solar and batteries. I keep coming back to clean tech, but there is quite a bit happening on life sciences. A lot happening in digital economy. I don't think I think you have all the foundation and the labs and the resources and the expertise to move forward. I think all it needs is some leadership and some just do it. Be like Nike. Just do it will be my motto. Don't overanalyze it. Let's not get into the analysis paralysis. Just do it. Lot more. People are just doing it and succeeding, and I don't see why not Loyola.
Okay. Thank you, Ramki. Right, learned a new word, analysis and paralysis. Right. Okay. Thank you. Now over to Dr. Milton for other questions from other
Uh,
participants.
Sir, I have two questions for you.
Sure.
You are an IITN. IIT is a place where great technologies are taught, and many are good uh, graduates come out of all these institutes of eminence.
Mm-hmm.
But not many venture into entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
And you, in the beginning, you mentioned about your encounter with this particular venture.
Mm-hmm.
And why this hesitation you find among the graduates of IITs and other most prominent institutions of our country?
Okay. I will answer it in two ways. One, compared to what it was 30 years back or 20 years back, it's a lot different now. You go to IIT Madras, they have 3 or 4 different incubation labs and research centers. There's quite a bit of uh, innovation happening. I see yeah, students and faculty and people outside the university system coming to IIT Madras and making things happen. The electric scooter from Bangalore company is housed in IIT Madras. There are several examples I can give. So the point is it is happening. Um, the reason it doesn't happen as often is the kind of as a culture, and maybe getting a good job and having security has been kind of the mindset at least a generation before us. Everybody wanted a government job or something where they can feel secure. So once you graduated from IIT, you will be getting a job, and the question is why lose that or why risk that? Might have been the thought process behind why not many kind of ventured, but things have changed. Things have changed drastically. I would say if you look at new graduates, they're all asking the question, what can I do? Because it is so easy to do something in AI or vision and computers based technology is so prevalent in India, and we are so good at it. So I see a lot of software startups happening, and software startups also easier to make to attract money because it is not that capital intensive, and software startups can kind of progress in iteration. So I can get one product which is running with 5 features, and in the next generation it can run with 15 features. So I can keep adding to my product in terms of features and functionality. So it's a easier task to achieve in terms of funding. So there's a lot of technology startups, and there are a lot of technology investors who are familiar with assessing those startup risks. So it's a great ecosystem which we have in India. There are angels. There's a Chennai angel. There's a Mumbai angel. You just look at TAI and other organizations. There is so much going on in terms of entrepreneurship in India these days.
My another question: why green technology or clean technology costs too much? We have been talking about solar energy, wind power for a long time, but even in countries like India, which is supposed to be a tropical country, it's not picking up like anything. Why is it a sort of hesitation from the investor side, or the industry side, or the
Uh,
technology as such?
Again, I will answer it. I'll give you 2 flavors. The first is you are seeing solar and wind to be cost competitive or even cheaper than coal and other fossil fuel plants. So we are talking about less than 2 cents, which is 15 paise or whatever in terms of a unit. It's a cost curves on solar used to be very expensive, and now it is cheaper than any other source of energy, because once you put it in, you don't need any fuel. It is zero operating, zero cost to make the electricity. So clean tech has initial high cost structure to begin with, and then cost curve works, and there is no comparison between a solar plant and a coal plant, because we do not pay for all the carbon which is emitted from a coal plant. So if somebody said emissions are not somebody is going to pay for it. So just because oil is available cheap or coal is available cheap, it doesn't mean that there are certainly external costs which we don't see. If you apply all those costs, it is a lot more expensive than what it is today. But clean tech, you are right, is something which clean tech has a investment, has a high capital cost generally to start with. But take solar, take wind, take battery, the costs have dropped every year. They keep dropping 20%, 30%, and they are still dropping. And there are going to be electric vehicles in 2025 which will be on par in terms of cost with the internal combustion engine. And more importantly, there is not going to be any fuel. You're not going to put gas, petrol or diesel into it. The cost of charging is going to be cheap, and you won't have any maintenance expenses as well. There's not many moving parts. So there are a whole lot of life cycle cost advantages in the clean technologies, and the costs which are not computed because Mother Earth takes the damage, and that is unquantifiable, and it is making it has got catastrophic consequences which 1 or 2 generations down the road is going to face. So this is a real problem, and I think there is more awareness now, and banks are getting behind clean technologies, and you need political will. Otherwise, it is tough to push it through. But it is the right thing to do.
Thank you, Dr. Ramki. There are no more questions, and we will wind up. Am I audible, Ramki? Ramki, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Yes, you are.
So, on behalf of Loyola College Management and the organizing committee, I profusely thank Dr. Ramki for the wonderful presentation and for the answers also. Right, you have done it so nicely, and I strongly believe your speech would have made a difference in the minds of our faculty, students, and other participants as well. So thank you, Dr. Ramki. Thank you for taking your time off and for being with us for more than 1 hour now. Now I know it is late midnight there. So close your eyes, go to sleep. Good night, sweet dreams.
Thank you, Dr. Madhavan. Thanks for Father Thomas and the rector and all the leadership in Loyola College and your team organizing this. Really appreciate the opportunity. Hope this was helpful, and I'm happy to answer further questions if they come offline, and more than happy to keep in touch and kind of help you as you all progress in your research endeavors. Thank you. Really enjoyed it. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Dear participants, the second talk is going to be on journal metrics, the most important component when it comes to research and publication. To handle this session, we have with us Dr. J. Madhavan, Dean of Research, Loyola College, Chennai, one of the finest researchers in crystallography and material science. He belongs to our physics department and the Dean of Research in Loyola College. Having hundreds of publications in peer-reviewed journals to his credit, and he is the apt person to handle this particular topic today. With this few words of introduction, I would like to welcome Dr. J. Madhavan to handle this session on journal metrics. Welcome, sir.
Dr. Milton, thank you. Is the screen visible?
Yeah, clear, sir. Clear.
Thank you, Dr. Milton. Thank you for the nice introduction. You are always kind to me. Thank you. Respected, for the Rector, for the Secretary, for the Principal, the resource person, Dr. Ramki, the coordinators, Dr. Milton, Dr. Jaccob, and dear participants. Good morning to you all. The topic that is given to me is journal metrics. Research metrics are the fundamental tools used across the publishing industry to measure performance both at journal and author level. Metrics are parameters that measure the goodness of a journal or a researcher, how good a journal is. A journal with higher impact factor is always referred as a good journal. Then who is a good researcher? Any researcher who has a higher H index is a good researcher. This is not the case some 2 decades back. If I want to be called as a good researcher, I need to be attested by my HOD, my seniors, my principal, or my director as a good researcher. How come they are called as good researchers? They would have been attested by their HODs, their principals, and their directors, and their seniors. But now we can actually measure the goodness. Goodness is tangible. Then what are the parameters that measure the goodness? The number of papers published in journals, listed in Web of Science, Scopus, or Google Scholar, etc. Right? It tells us the goodness of research. The impact factor of the journal, or what we call as a cumulative impact factor. That is, you add all the impact factors of the journals you publish. That is what is called as cumulative impact factor. And then the H index. These factors define the goodness of a researcher. In the next slide, let me show the landscape of publishing. It is ever increasing. Right? If you look at the screen, ever-growing scholarly publishing landscape. Every year, 3 million papers were published. And it goes on. 3 million, it goes on. And 42,500 scholarly journals are there. Of this 42,500 scholarly journals, 14,785 are open access journals. What do you mean by open access journals? Open access journals, the readers are free to read. That is a simple definition for open access journals. Right? Readers can anytime go to the website of the journal and you can read the journals free. That is what is called as open access journal. Then, in addition, there are 13,000 predatory journals. Right? You must be aware of predatory journals. I'm not going to tell you what a predatory journal and all, because it will take another 1 hour. You can go on talking about predatory journals and the way they cheat researchers. It's a big topic, but you must be aware of what are predatory journals. Where to publish is important, but where not to publish is still more important. You must be very careful about your publications, right? Once you publish in a predatory journal, you are pulling down yourself, not only yourself, your institution as well. So you must be very careful, right? Now, next we will move on to the objective of this session to understand the appropriate usage of journal citation metrics, to recognize several of the most commonly used journal citation methods, right? Several of the most commonly used journal citation methods means there are many metrics. If you move into a journal, you can see many metrics defining the goodness of the journal. But I'm not going to tell you about everything, right? We will take one or two significant parameters which define the journals universally. Then to understand the source, the method of calculation of the most commonly used journal citation metrics, I will give one or two examples to how to calculate, because nowadays softwares, they take care. If you enter your name, it gives you the details. But what is hidden behind? I will try to take one or two examples. Maybe I will take my own example and our own college, and I will try to explain. Next, we will see the most important journal metric, the impact factor. Right? Impact factor is the most important journal metric. Right? It is owned by Clarivate Analytics. I will tell you a background of this impact factor. Right? It all began in the year 1955. Right? By a journal published by Eugene Garfield. He is the father of this impact factor. He is the one who introduced this impact factor. A few introduction about him, then we will move on. The paper was titled Citation Indexes for Science, right? And it was published in the journal Science. Science is a popular journal in those days and even now. As you see in the screen, the paper is Citation Indexes for Science. Again, Garfield, in 1972, he published a paper entitled Citation Analysis as a Tool in Journal Evaluation. Right? This was also published in Science. Right? Okay. A few background about Eugene Garfield. Right? Born in September 16, 1925, and he passed away on February 26, 2017, some 3 years back. Right? And he has a bachelor degree in chemistry, and he has also another degree in library science, and he has a PhD in linguistics, and he obtained his PhD for developing algorithms for translating chemical nomenclatures to chemical formulas. So he basically a chemist and a librarian blended together. In 1956, he founded the Institute for Scientific Information, which formed as Thomson Reuters, and from 2016, it is Clarivate Analytics. Even now, Thomson Reuters, Web of Science, Clarivate Analytics are all synonymous. If you say Thomson Reuters, it means Clarivate Analytics. If you say Web of Science, it also means Clarivate Analytics. As of now, Clarivate Analytics is the company responsible for impact factor. Every year, they release the journal impact factors for the journals that are listed under Clarivate Analytics or Web of Science. So they are the one, Clarivate Analytics, they are the one responsible for this impact factor. They determine, they have a certain protocol, right? Based on those protocols, they determine the impact factors. As you see in the screen, currently there are 9,370 science journals, 3,486 social science journals, 1,658 gold open access journals, and 7,487 hybrid journals. So around 22,000 journals are listed by Web of Science database. As I said, open access journal means the content are made available to the readers free of cost. Then what are gold open access journals? Gold open access makes the final version of article freely and permanently accessible for everyone immediately after publication. Copyright of the article is retained by the authors and most of the permission barriers are removed. Now, hybrid journals refer to subscription-based journal that offers an open access option which authors can choose if they wish. That is, both subscription and open access is available. Let me tell you something about the subscription and open access. All the journals can be broadly classified into two categories. One we call it as subscription. where the readers have to subscribe, or the institution that the readers belong have to subscribe. That is, we need to pay money. Readers have to pay money, right? Whereas open access, right, readers are free to read. That is the basic difference between a subscription journal and an open access journal. Clarivate Analytics is a global leader in trusted insights and analytics for research and innovation, identify and recognize the most influential researchers and institutions for their outstanding and pioneering research contribution to the country, right? So they not only list the impact factors, they identify the most prominent research works done worldwide. They also do it for India, right? I will come to that also. They announce Research Excellence Awards periodically. These awards celebrate the research excellence demonstrated by many outstanding researchers and institutions as captured in Web of Science. These awards were announced, the recent awards I am talking about, these awards were announced in September 2019, that is last year by this time. Highly cited research publications that imply high impact research published during the period 2012 to 2018, somewhere around 7 years, were an important criterion for the awards. The award ceremony celebrated 8 individual researchers and 11 institutions for their exemplary research contributions. Individual awards included lifetime achievement, research excellence in various fields, and institutions were categorized as young universities, that is within 15 years, and universities that were in existence for more than 15 years, and awards were given to colleges also. In the college category, Loyola was awarded the best college in terms of research citation. So, in the entire country, we are the best in terms of research quality. I thank Reverend for the principal for allowing me to receive the award on behalf of the Loyola College. I received the India Research Excellence Citation Award from Professor Sharma, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, Dr. Bhushan Patwardhan, Vice Chairman, University Grants Commission, and Dr. Anand Desai, Research Policy and Assessment Advisor, Institute for Scientific Information, in a function held at New Delhi. You can also see me giving the acceptance speech after receiving the award. Now let us see what are the impact factors. This is about a background of the company Clarivate Analytics. The journal impact factor is published every year by Clarivate Analytics. It's a measure of the number of times an average paper in a periodical journal is cited during the preceding 2 years. Right? You can take an example. Let A be the number of times articles published in a specific journal in 2017 and 18 were cited by journals during 2019. Right? B, the total number of citable items published by that journal in 2017 and 18. Citable items are usually articles, reviews, proceedings, etc. Not editorials or letter to the editors are not included. Then the impact factor, 2019 impact factor becomes A by B. Actual, if you refer to any journal website, the actual value is intentionally only displayed for the most recent year. They display only for the most recent year. Earlier values are available in the journal citation reports from Clarivate Analytics. You can enter and you can see. Now, I will give you an hypothetical example for a better understanding. Right? The reason to take an hypothetical example is the number of articles published will be in thousands and the citations will also be in thousands for any standard journals. For better understanding, I will keep this number less so that you can understand it better. I will give a very hypothetical, just for an example sake. This is not a journal data, right? Just for example, just for understanding sake, I am giving you this. Let number of papers published by a journal. You can call the journal as Journal X. In 2017 be 10. It has published 10 journals. And the number of papers published by this journal X, Journal X in 2018 be 11. So the total number of papers published by this journal in 2017 and 18 is 21. Right? So in 17 and 18, a total of 21 journals were published by Journal X, right? These journals, there is a possibility that these journals being cited by other journals, right? You have seen the landscape where there are million papers are there. So from those millions, right, some of them have picked up your paper and they might have cited. If these 21 journals are cited by the journals mentioned in those landscape 42 times in the year 2019, so cited 42 times, then the impact factor will be 42 by 21 2. Hope you understand this now, right? So impact factor depends on citation. Now next they have what is called as 5-year impact factor. It's the same procedure. But it is for 5 years, right? It is a measure of the number of times an average paper in a particular journal is cited during the preceding 5 years. For example, A, the number of articles published in a specific journal between 2014 and 18, right? So 5 years were cited by journals during 2019. So citation we take only 1 year, 2019, but number of journals we have for 5 years. So B, the total number of citable items published by the journal between 2014 and 18. That is, citable items, as I said, are usually articles, reviews, proceedings, etc. Not editorials or letter to the editor. 2019 impact factor equal to A by B. So this gives the impact factor. One additional thing I have to tell you, though this impact factor is given by Clarivate Analytics, right? It's a globally recognized company and a globally recognized database. Web of Science is a globally recognized database, right? It is universally accepted by other databases also. There are other databases which are globally recognized. So this is acceptable by other databases also. Next, so there are other metrics, right? But the most significant is impact factor. That is why I took impact factor and explained. Next, I move on to Scopus, one more respected and recognized global database. So it was launched in November 2014. Whereas if you take Web of Science, right, the initiation was there in 1955 itself, right? Scopus launched in November 2014. Scopus is a source neutral abstract and citation database curated by independent subject matter experts with over 25,100 titles, right? 25,100 titles means it is 25,100 different journals, right? From more than 5,000 international publishers. Scopus delivers the most comprehensive overview of the world's research output in the fields of science, technology, medicine, social science, and arts and humanities. It has, in every field it has, right? So this is an introduction about Scopus, right? Now, coming to site score. Before coming to site score, just an introduction about this site score. Why this site score was mooted, right? The site score is mooted very recently, right? So Clarivate Analytics has got its own parameter impact factor. Though it is universally accepted, Scopus decided to have its own parameter, its own metric. That is why they introduced this site score, right? Site score is very much similar to impact factor, but it takes care of 3 years. Two major differences are there. I will tell you what is major difference is there. Site score 2019 counts the citations received in 2016 to 2019 to articles, reviews, conference papers, book chapters, and data papers published in 2016 to 19. When we refer to impact factor, it is that period has to be completed. 2016 to 19 has to be completed. Then it has to be cited in 2020. Then you call it as impact factor of 2020. Here, this is not the case here, right? Site score 2019 counts the citations received in 2016 to 2019 to articles, reviews, conference papers published in 2016 to 19. That is the major difference there. So site score will always be little bit higher than impact factor. So I have given an example for Journal of Molecular Structure, impact factor is 2 point something, whereas your site score comes to 4, right? And site score is at par with impact factor, and everybody recognizes site score. So I've given an example for Journal of Metric, Journal of Molecular Structure. As I said, a standard journal publishes thousands of papers. The standard journal publishes thousands of papers. Journal of Molecular Structure have published 5,076 documents from 2016 to 2019. And it has received a citation of 20,154 during the same period. So period is the same for site score, which is not true for impact factor, right? Now, hope you understand the site score. Now, another thing, H index, right? As I said, how a researcher is measured, he is measured by the H index. It all started by a publication by Hirsch, and based on his name only, it is H index. The title of the paper is An Index to Quantify an Individual Scientific Research Report. Now, it is not only for individual, it is also for institution. Some things that paper was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the United States of America in the year 2005. So H index, Hirsch, he introduced this concept and it has been accepted. So H index can be calculated for an individual. H index can be calculated for the institution as well, right? Again, H index can be calculated for the entire span of research. H index can be calculated for a particular period, right? I'll tell you why it is a particular period. Again, it is applicable for institution also. The H index can be calculated for an institution for the entire period, or H index can be calculated for the institution for a defined period, say for 5 years, right? This is the background of H index. Now I will tell you the definition for H index. I will take my own example and I will give you what an H index is. H index, the maximum value of H such that the given author, it must be author, journal or institution, has published H papers that have each been cited at least H times, right? I will give an example, you will understand it better. The maximum value of H such that the given author has published H papers that have each been cited at least H times. I will give you an example, right? This is my profile in Scopus, Madhavan. My RCD ID, my author ID, that is unique. Again, one more RCD, ORG ID is there, right? And then my affiliation is there. Loyola College, Chennai is there. So far, I have published 127 papers. Total citation received by this 127 papers, 811 by 582 documents, and my H index is 17. I will tell you how this 17 comes. Say, this has been listed accordingly, that is in an ascending order. Right? Number of citation is more, that will be the first one, then the second one, third one, it goes on. Since the entire screen could not be accommodated, I have just taken a screenshot of 16, 17 and 18. If you look at this, at 16, just have a look, the first column is the serial number, paper number, right? It goes up to, starts from 1 and it goes up to 127. And the second column is the title of the paper, right? Second column is the title of the paper. Third column is the authors, including the corresponding author and the co-authors, right? This include author, and this one is year of publication, right? In which year it has been published, and this one is that is journal name. So first column serial number, second column title, third column authors, fourth column the year in which it has been published, and fifth column is the title of the paper, and then final column, sixth column is the number of citation it has received. For me, for the first one, it is around 67 or something. Then it goes on, it decreases. Then coming to 16, it becomes 17, and 17 it goes like this. See, this is 17. This is 17. Number of citation is 17, and serial number is also 17. Then you call it as H index is 17, right? So at least number of papers, at least H times. Here H is 17, serial number is 17, and H index is, that is number of citations is 17. So my H index is 17. Now, see, this is I given in detail as a table I have put that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 represents the paper, first paper, second paper, third paper. I have given up to 30. It is enough that we have this limited number to draw the graph, right? That is why I have stopped with 30. It must go up to 127 actually. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The paper number, then the citations are given. Now, see, when you come to 17, both the serial number and the citations are equal. Both the serial number and citations are equal. Hopefully, if 16, 17, 18 gets one more paper, my H index, one more citation, my H index will be 18 now. So right, that is. Now, I can draw a graph like this, taking the number of papers, that is paper number 1, 2, 3 on the x-axis, and the number of citations on the y-axis. If I draw a graph, I have a curve, and now I draw a straight line with 45 degrees, right? The point at which it cuts the curve becomes the H index. So you can see, this is how we calculate the H index. The calculation component or the calculation part is the same whether you calculate it for an author or an institution. Next, I will give you an example of our college, Loyola College, the H index of our Loyola College. So this is the Scopus detail, affiliation details, Loyola College, right? It gives the address, Sterling Road, Nungambakam, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India, affiliation ID. It is given. It is affiliation ID is unique, right? Now you can see, right? The same thing, serial number, title of the paper, authors, year, and publications, right? If you look at here, '73. See, serial number is 73 and citation is also 73. So the H index for Loyola for the entire research term is 73. Now, next screen, I will try to show you for the 5 years. What is the need for 5 years? Assessment agencies, something like NAC, they ask for 5 years H index, right? So there is we can even have for 5 years. This is for 5 years, right? If we take 34, if you see the serial number is 34 and also the number of citation is 34. So H index for the past 5 years is 34 for land, right? So this is how we calculate H index. More the H index, right? It is directly proportional to the quality, more the quality, right? Higher the H index, higher the quality of research we are doing. Higher the citations, higher the quality of the research we are doing, right? So this is about, as I have taken an example of, my example, right? And then the college example. Hope now you understand about what is an H index. Now, one more database I will talk about, right? It is Google Scholar, right? It was released in November 2004. The Google Scholar Index includes most reviewed online academic journal, books, conference papers, theses, and dissertation, right? And apart from this impact factor, site score, H index, right? They have released one more also, I-10 index, right? I'll show my screenshot the next slide. I-10 index is the number of publications with at least 10 citations, right? This is what is Google Scholar is also, right? Now, one more database is there, right? These Web of Science or Clarivate Analytics, Scopus or Elsevier, right? As Web of Science is synonymous to Clarivate Analytics, Scopus is synonymous to Elsevier, because Elsevier publications, they list all their papers, all their journals in Scopus, right? So Scopus is synonymous to Elsevier, right? Then you know about Google Scholar. I need to have a Google mail ID, that's all. I can enter and see my data, right? I will show my own example for this. Now, next is called as altmetric, right? It's a new one, a new concept introduced, right? Right? You know the power of social media, right? Everything comes into social media, gets popular. Social media make and break. We all are aware of those things, right? instant tweets, Prime Minister or the Chief Minister responding to the tweets from the common man, all things we are seeing in these days. And social media, they definitely make an impact on everyone in the society. So this alt metric, right, is a metric which is concerned about social media, right? Just an example, I'm putting it out. I took it from the altmetric website. How many news outlets your research has been talked about? How many blogs your research has been talked about? How many of your research papers have been tweeted, right? Because CSIR has its own handle, different units of CSIR and different research organization has their own handle, right? The MHRD or now the Ministry of Education has its own Twitter handle, right? Recently they published the calendar for this particular academic year. So those things. So social media is very powerful and it reaches the masses at the earliest. Then the Facebook pages are also considered. Wikipedia pages. Google, how many times it has been searched in Google, right? How is there any videos online, right? Bentley is another research database, right? But it is connected with Scopus, right? So these things. So altmetric, it is coming up, right? Though not recognized by our UGC or other educational portals, it is coming up, right? It says how much you are popular in social media. Now, I have been telling about those things, right? There is one thing called as source normalized impact per paper, right? I will tell you a few things because I'm not going into the calculation details and all, but because impact factor is a significant one, right? Now, say for example, just for example, let me take, I am giving a recommendation. A professor or an ordinary man or a layman giving a recommendation to someone. Just think, a minister giving a recommendation. So the difference is there. So your paper getting cited in a journal of low impact factor and getting cited in a journal of high impact factor is different, right? When it gets cited in a journal of high impact factor, it tells the quality of your paper, right? Taking these things into consideration, right? They calculate source normalized impact per paper. And here, another certain things also I would like to share with you. And while calculating the source normalized impact factor, they normally exclude self-citation. What do you mean by self-citation? Self-citation, two factors are there. One at the individual level, one at the journal level, right? Individual level means I have shown you an example of Journal of Molecular Structure. You take that, right? I publish a paper, and I quote myself. If I quote myself, it is called as self-citation. And self-citation is not recommended at all. It's not recommended at all. Avoid self-citing unless or otherwise it is required. Some places it is required. In an introduction part, the previous work of myself is needed. So make it minimum, make self-citation minimum. As I come to journal self-citation, as the same example, Journal of Molecular Structure, if a paper published in Journal of Molecular Structure quotes another paper in Journal of Molecular Structure, again it is referred to as self-citation, right? UGC also called for reduction in self-citation, and too much of self-citation would be penalized. That is what the recent UGC mandate is, right? Now, leave all metrics, leave the media, right? Now, three major databases we have discussed, right? That two are very popular. One is the Web of Science and another one is Scopus, right? One is Web of Science and another one is Scopus. Once you publish in Web of Science, you can say that you are a good researcher, right? Now, can I put any hierarchy? Which one is the first? Which one is the second? Can I put a hierarchy and say that this one, 1, 2, 3, right? If you ask me to do that, I will take my own example. All these are my data. I collected from Google Scholar, I collected from Scopus, and then I collected from Web of Science, right? If you take Google Scholar, the Google Scholar says my H index is 24. Scopus says my H index is 17, whereas Web of Science says my H index is 30, right? So the way they admit the journal, right, in Web of Science is stricter. They have strict norms. Right? And that is why you see the difference, right? And Google Scholar takes up everything. Every journal that is being put up in the web is taken by Google Scholar. That is why my H index is 24. Scopus, they even publish good conference proceedings. But Web of Science, they don't encourage. Of course, they have conference proceedings. They don't encourage every conference proceedings to be listed in Web of Science. So that is the difference is there. And even if we take the number of papers in Scopus is 127, whereas publication in Web of Science is only 100. So when you put in the conference and all, it doesn't come under Web of Science. So now you know which one is 1, 2, 3. It's not good to make a hierarchy and say this is best and this is second, this is first and this is second. Just for information's sake, I have shared with you. Now, Web of Science also give you peer review metrics. What is peer review? If you submit a journal to a particular, submit a paper to a particular journal, it gets reviewed by other researchers, right? In that way, I have reviewed 52 journals, right? It is giving all details. It is giving just to know that when you go inside this Web of Science, everything, your details will be there. On next slide also, I will show you one more thing. It will say, as far as citation is concerned, which part of the world your paper is being cited, right? See, this is my citation view, right? In India, it is 747. It has been quoted in Paris, Saudi Arabia, in all the different parts of the world. My paper is being cited. I took this from Publance, right? Publance is a part of Web of Science group, right? So it is interesting. It is interesting. You can know everything. You can know which paper is citing your paper, right? So around the globe, our papers are getting cited. So it talks about our research. It talks about the quality of Loyola, the research that has been undertaken in Loyola College. Now, after I have almost covered the basic metrics, right? The basic metrics to understand research, to understand the quality of research. Of course, other metrics are there, but these are the major ones. The impact factor, H index, side score, right? These are the major ones, right? Now, I want to know about the quality of, I want to learn something about the quality of papers. I want to know how to publish, right? Lot of resources are available online, right? You can go to Nature Master Class, right? Some are subscribed and some are free. Those free content are very nice. I learned a lot from this Nature Master Class. The Research Academy is from Scopus and LCChennai. They tell us about many things. Right? And again, you have Publance. Publance, they teach us how to review a paper. And they give a certificate also. I am a graduate from this Publance. Right? I go through this paper. I take some tests there. Right? Then they say I am a graduate from Publance. So these are the resources you can also try and you can also learn. Hope I have made things clear. And another thing is there is a need to know about these parameters, because whenever an act comes or when you need an API score for UGC, this impact factor, H index, they play a major role. Right? So hopefully with this I can conclude. So my acknowledgement is I derived this information from these websites of Claravet, Web of Science, Scopus, Google Scholar, and I profusely thank our management of Loyola College. I also thank the organizers, Dr. Milton, Dr. Jacob, and I thank Reverend Father Bharati for making this presentation. Beautifully made this presentation. I thank Reverend Father Bharati. I am ready to take your questions now. Thank you very much.
Professor, I was looking for questions from the chat box, but it's flooded with words of appreciation. I
Thank
think
you. Thank you.
all the participants have understood and learned a lot about journal matrix. So to conclude, on behalf of the organizers and the management of Loyola College, I would like to express my sincere appreciation and thanks to you for having present here to explain to the participants the most important component of research and publication, that is journal metrics. And you have done your presentation really lucidly, and many of the components or the intricacies involved in publication and research was made quite clear to the participants today. So I would like to thank you profusely for this wonderful venture. Participants, I would like to thank all of you for having taken part in this research methodology webinar series on journal metrics and research consultancy. Hope you had a nice time and learned a lot of interesting things, and you will be able to use all of them in your future endeavors. So thank you one and all for this wonderful intellectual participation this morning. Thank you once again. Good luck all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Milton. Thank you.